Okay, let's welcome our audience. Welcome to the Ready, Set, Gemini podcast. I am your host, Dan Mora. Across from me.
Hey, everybody. Frank Smithson here.
How are you, Frank?
Doing good. Busy weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little bummed I missed your wife's birthday party. That would have been pretty fun.
It was pretty epic, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry you missed it too, but I'm sure you had fun as well, doing your own thing. In fact, you have some words of wisdom based on your weekend activities.
Yeah, so the reason why I missed your wife's birthday was it was my daughter's birthday as well.
Happy birthday.
We did a little kind of a double birthday thing. Her best friend's birthday is 30 days before, and then my daughter's is in like another 15 days. So we went right in the middle, and we did an escape room. Mm-hmm. And the words of wisdom is slow down to speed up. One of the best puzzle in there was this simple thing where there was like 4 candles. Each one had a letter on it, L, W, O, B. And you had to figure out that it says blow. And there was this little vents you could blow into the candle and it would turn them out. And you had to do it in a sequence, B, L, O, W. Uh-huh. And we had 8 people in there.
Oh, boy.
So it was just like crazy chaoticness. I was laughing the whole time watching one person blow on the B and then somehow the O went next. And then to relight the candles, you had to yell back in it. So it was like, whew, ah. And this went on for like 5 minutes. And I just finally stood up after laughing for so long. It's like, slow down, pick one person to call out who's going to blow first, and then kind of go through the sequence. And it worked. And we would have had a first place in that room on the leaderboards if we didn't mess up on that. So we were 3 minutes off, and that whole thing took 5 minutes, even though we knew the sequence that we needed to do. We just couldn't pull it off because everybody was laughing and giggling and getting too crazy with it. Slow down to speed up.
I have a terrible track record for escape rooms.
Oh yeah?
Terrible. We've never even solved one.
What? How many have you done?
3, 4.
Are you picking the hardest ones or?
No, I just said we just can't get our stuff straight.
Weakest link.
Yeah, I'll accept that. I'll accept that. I usually just sit back and watch everybody kind of try to figure things out, and then if that one needs a little attention, I'll go over there and hang out with it. Yeah, I'm not really trying to win because I just don't have any faith in myself. I'm not much of a puzzle person.
I didn't mind it. I always liked those puzzle like video games. Uncharted. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's on PS4. It's basically like a Indiana Jones adventure game, and you solve puzzles and move around. So
just never been good at puzzle solving. Not my thing.
Yeah,
it's okay. It
was fun though. Got some headlines for us?
Got some headlines. Let's see. This is out of Iowa, but interesting. So a worker fails to assert viable invasion of privacy claim against a nurse case management group that got records for this worker. So the nurse case management group got records for this worker, and the worker then filed an invasion of privacy claim against the nurse case management group, and says the General Assembly, or it says here, the court said that while there is a constitutional right to privacy in medical records, the General Assembly can and has abrogated that right by statute more than once, as is in the case for workers' compensation claims. So this is applicable to what we do when we are obtaining records on behalf of injured workers. So I thought that was interesting.
And this was Iowa, to be clear.
Yeah, but really kind of a cool, I don't know. I think people wonder, especially people that aren't day-to-day practicing workers' compensation, how are privacy rights upheld when anybody per se, not anybody, that's not true, when a company can go get your medical records. Mm-hmm. Kind of, with not exactly with your consent.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Here's
the next topic. NIOSH California labor law white paper. And this is a blueprint for building business success and becoming a healthcare business, essentially, for all businesses. So more than ever before, U.S. business must prioritize creating healthy workspaces where people want to go and to do their best work. To do so comprehensively and historically, U.S. businesses need to become a healthcare business. I thought that was kind of interesting. So there's a long white paper on that, maybe worth a read for anyone that's an employer, speaking to all our applicant attorneys out there.
become a healthcare business.
Not actually a healthcare business, but taking all the steps necessary to protect their workers because of the cost associated with it if you have injuries and things like that.
Okay.
Kind of interesting. We'll post a link.
Legitimate.
Yep.
Onto our main topic. This is a fun one, AB 1278, and my title for this is this bill trying to repair the MPNs or grab for control? I think that at this point, the MPNs can be considered just a mess.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's just it seems like chaotic like.
You called it a black eye.
Yeah, I think it's really a black eye for state leadership. I'll say that confidently. How do I say this without being inflammatory? I believe that our industry and our system is really complex, very difficult to understand and comprehend. Because of that, it requires a very, very deep and seasoned leadership group of leaders that are navigating. And unfortunately, this is a result of, I think, some lack of competency. And I hate to say that, but I just think it's kind of true.
Is it the complexity of the topic at hand though? Or is this something that should have been solved a lot easier than the way it's gone?
Both.
Okay.
MPNs were established in, I think it was 2005 with 899.
Okay.
And then what happens is it just goes through, how long has that been? 20 years of interpretation and clarification, etc. So it goes on and on. So in 2022, in July 2022, the DWC published a newsline clarifying existing law regarding the provider directories. Okay, and it says, according to the newsline, under current law, if an MPN submits a provider listing that contains the names of non-professional organizations, management service organizations, scheduling and coordinating companies, cost containment companies, or other non-provider entities, the DWC will disapprove the MPN submission. Okay, so the problem is so multi-directional, meaning that the doctors have an impossible time trying to find referral doctors. The patients have a hard time doing this. Even the payers are having an enormously difficult time trying to find their own MPN or the MPNs that they're supposed to be going to. So this legislation, though, so the question is this legislation, this assembly bill, will it repair anything? Right now, it is it's stating to permit entities, quote unquote, to serve as PTPs. So you replace a doctor's name with a entity. It could be Kaiser, it could be Anthem, as opposed to a doctor, a person.
So is the purpose of that to make it easier to understand who the PTP is, which is still kind of odd because it's an entity, not a. Is that like the whole goal of this thing?
Yeah.
So is it not a tech issue? It seems like if you have people that are in the MPN list of doctors, why is it so complex that technology can't have like a nice curated list that someone can access?
Who owns that technology is the problem. And right now, what the law states is that the employers are supposed to control those MPN lists on their website, is what the law says. And that's just been a nightmare. It's just been a nightmare. The enforcement from the DWC and the DIR has been, not ineffective. Let's just say that. It's been maybe they are doing things, but we talked about earlier in the year the amount of doctors that are getting removed also is just enormous.
So it was like 178. There was 2022 removed for fraudulent type activities. I think I recall a previous podcast where we were talking about that.
And then the DWC doesn't provide any sort of, I just mentioned that news line where they're disapproving lists, and they're not even saying when they lost that approval status. So you can lose an approval status on MPN, and like, well, was it lost last week or was it lost last year? So in addition to what this bill is looking to do, which is to replace, not replace, but add entities as to serve as a PTP, but also they're changing the way that notifications are going, and it eliminates MPN notices being provided directly to injured workers. And I'm reading that, but that's not actually 100% true. It gives the injured worker the option to designate the MPN as the person to notify whoever needs to be notified. And, the concern is that that's just a boilerplate template signature that the injured worker gives the MPN to notify whoever about changes.
Interesting. I'm just still baffled why work comp feels they have to do things so different than the rest of the medical community inside of California, and why NPNs even exist, period. Like, if you go see a doctor, don't they take a Hippocratic oath and they're there to protect your health? I mean, I guess that maybe is the applicant side, and the defense is like, well, they could be given a lot of treatment that isn't necessary. Mm-hmm. So let's look at a bunch of books and make sure that the people that we're hiring are going to also be advocating to not give treatment where not necessary.
Yeah. So
is that the idea?
The part of this, what could happen, slippery slope, is it's a great question, Frank. Like, I don't even know how to answer that, but the part of what this also does is it possibly, starts to mask who the doctor is for this injured worker. It just becomes ambiguous. To
your doctor is Kaiser.
Right. Your doctor is Kaiser. It's not Dr. Smith or what have you. And that removes the control of theoretically, it removes the control of that injured worker's, their control over who they treat with.
What is this going to do for smaller doctors, smaller firms?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm reading from a Supreme Court case that says that it's essential for treatment outcome is essential to treatment outcome is the trust and rapport that a patient has with his or her physician. I think that's pretty.
That could be a slippery slope argument too. It's making the assumption that if the MPN is Kaiser, they're going to just bounce you around from doctor to doctor, whoever is available. And that would be a horrible way to give healthcare.
Right.
If every time you see a different doctor, you're not going to have any consistency. I mean, every doctor is going to write a little bit different. Maybe they don't write their notes in complete detail. Mm-hmm. So if you're bouncing from one to the next, that history is gone. Now, that being said, would Kaiser do that? Or other, I mean, I guess if they have the power to do it, that's a concern, but.
Yeah. This is hotly contested. There's concerns that this bill could be, the shell bill for a huge work comp reform package. I'm hearing that that's not the case, that this is just trying to repair MPN as it is.
Let's bring in some other aspects of beyond the NPN. They even mentioned copy service in there, and translation, home health care, transportation. These are the ancillary services. So how can it impact copy service?
Well, so I'll give you an example. If you're an injured worker and you've signed over notification to Kaiser, and before, what they had to do is they said, we have to notify you that we're going to choose this, transportation company. Now they just have to notify Kaiser. Kaiser has to notify Kaiser that they need a transportation company. You don't get to choose, basically. So that's part of this right to choice. Now, the the injured worker advocates are focused on a state run, or their scheme per se is to get the state to figure out how to run the MPNs, state control possibly, whereas this bill is putting the control onto the employers and to the major provider networks. And again, this is an example of control where the notification dovetails with, hey, we're assigning you a new doctor, we need this specialty or what have you. We don't even have to tell you. We just have to, it has to go within, it has to stay with it. The notification is staying within the provider network.
So it seems like it's just pulling more towards like insurance ran type of work comp in its entirety. Get the doctors, everything is on that side. It's the David and Goliath story, right? How are the injured workers being represented right now with this issue?
That's a tough question. I think that well, we know that CAW is a huge advocate. And there was another, so this bill went through the Senate Insurance Committee last week without opposition from the members themselves of the Insurance Commission. There was two dissents in the, not dissents, but two oppositions to the bill, and that was CAW was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but they didn't have any published opposition prior to this. So it's in Appropriations Committee. There's a list though of supporters, big list of supporters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious what the future of this is going to. It seems like everybody is probably in alignment that the MPN system in its current state is not necessarily working well.
Yeah. Some of the supporters are going to surprise you. C-SIMS was a supporter. So that's going to surprise you a little bit, but maybe that's the healthcare provider networks then maybe taking over C-SIMS. And it used to be individual doctors. C-SIMS has changed a lot.
Yeah, so you have the Kaisers and the Anthems.
Yeah, Coventry, Corvell, Modex Health. Let's see. There's Risk and Insurance Management Society, RIMS. Coventry, did I say them? Corvell.
So medical facilities are now turning into big box stores. What it seems like.
It's good headline too.
Yeah.
Yeah, sad, but we got to report on this. It's just kind of.
Yeah, this seems like one that we'll probably continue to keep looking at and reporting back. Mm-hmm. Anything else to cover?
Takeaways, I said it at the beginning. I think this is a black eye for the state. They have failed to make MPNs right for everybody. Everybody hates the MPNs.
Yeah. I'd love to hear from our audience what they think would be good solutions to fix these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, transparency is a good place to start.
I mean, if the bottom line is everybody says that something's broken, kudos to at least attempting to try to find a way to change it. Not necessarily the direction we may want to go, but if no one else is presenting things and bringing them forward, like something's going to happen.
That's very true. Very true. Great. All right. Well, let's wrap this one up. Thank you for your time today, Frank.
Yeah, it's a pleasure, Dan.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Subscribe,
comment,
follow, all those fun things.
Do all that fun stuff. Like to hear from you.